Hello, I'm Paul Beckwith. Just a few days ago, the United States was celebrating Independence Day, July 4th, as the rest of the world is very aware. And the government decided that they would get all this military equipment on display in Washington. That included tanks and howitzers and things like that. So I hope that equipment has been moved out of the Capitol because that equipment, some of it would be submerged right now. Washington, D.C. Had flash flood warnings and has just been inundated by repeated rainfall. So a month or more of rainfall happening in just a few hours this morning. And of course, that water has to go somewhere. You know, cities are mostly asphalt and concrete. So roads have become raging torrents. Water has filled people's houses and basements, and it's all around the White House. In fact, there was some images from the basement inside the White House being flooded. So, you know, what's happening? What caused this event? Well, obviously, torrential amounts of rainfall cause this event, but can we relate it to climate change? Absolutely, we can relate it to the craziness of the jet streams, and we can relate the craziness of the jet streams, the slowing down and the much more wavy nature, the fracturing, pieces breaking off, you know, whirls and loops. We can relate what happened in Washington, as well as many other places, to the jet stream distortions, and the jet stream distortions are a direct result of the rapidly warming Arctic. So let's get right into the details. I think, you know, future Independence Day celebrations, instead of sending tanks, maybe it's better to send amphibians, or if not amphibians, maybe what about boats, or maybe even submarines will become part of the ceremonies in the future if these type of events continue to occur. So let's have a look at the details of what's transpired. Okay, this is my blog. This is a recent post on the Blue Ocean Zero event and abrupt climate system disruption. Please consider donating to my website, my PayPal, on my website to support my efforts to get you the latest in abrupt climate change in sort of everyday, you know, street down to the earth language, so it's easily understandable to anybody and everybody. No science background required. So when an event happens, what do I do? Like many other people, I go to social media. Here's my Twitter account at Paul H. Beckwith, and you know, an event's starting to happen, and I start tweeting things out. So this is flooding Pennsylvania and 15th, right near the White House. Look at the water that's accumulated on the street. This is a timestamp of the storm from the National Weather Service. So you can see the time here. This is in Zulu time. You can convert it to local time. But what you can see is, this is repeating, but you can see the storm is just parked here and not moving. Okay, so the meteorology is such that this storm is just sitting in place. Jet streams, I can tell you, are stalled out in this location. You know, this will be in a trough of the jet stream, just parked there, and these storms are generating and just going right over this region. This is the National Weather Service outlook for excessive rainfall outlook. So it's showing marginal in these regions here, you know, marginal, slight. So you can get this. This is a great website to see what's going on. Okay, Capital Weather Gang. Let's have a look at this. People continue to drive through deep water. Don't know how deep it is. You have some idea how deep it is. Now the problem with doing this is the road might be washed out underneath. Okay, so this is never a good idea. People forever underestimate the power of moving water, for one thing, even though it can be shallow, the force of the water, the ability of the water to wash out roads. You just, you don't have to be in a rush all the time. Never do that. 3.3 inches of rain in an hour for the district and northern Virginia suburbs. The chance of that climatologically, less than 1% chance of occurring in a given year. Okay, this flash flood warning is still ongoing, and it covers a large region, large number of people. Okay, 3.3 inches of rain in 1 hour at Reagan National. This is astronomical rainfall intensity. A record for the date, and in just 1 hour. It's among the top 10 heaviest single-day events in July on record, back to 1871. Now that's single-day event, and it's only in the first hour. Okay, so only in 1 hour. 3.48 inches today, 3.3 inches in 1 hour. Okay, and if you go on Twitter, here we go. Absurd rainfall across DC region this morning should provide perfect backdrop for the speech this afternoon touting the White House environmental achievements. This is the Waverly Hills neighborhood in Arlington, Virginia. Okay, stairs becoming waterfalls, streets becoming rivers. This is very, very dangerous stuff, flash flooding. Okay, this could actually carry people off. Obviously, it's flooding many homes in this particular region. I mean, the water, we know the water is just going to flow downhill, and it's going to find a path to go to wherever to go to lower ground. So this is, with extreme weather events like this happening more and more often, and I'll explain exactly why they're happening more and more often, then it's very important the local terrain around your house. Are you on the top of a hill? Are you on flat ground? Because even if you're very, very far from a river, you can still get rivers forming and going down in between houses and going down streets and so on. So it's becoming more and more important for people to get digital elevation maps of their city. And these can be very accurately taken from laser radar aircraft, for example, LiDAR, something called LiDAR. And if they're done for a city, it will tell people exactly, they'll be able to figure out their risk from overland flooding like this, from torrential rainfall. Most people think of flooding as, being along a river or something. They're not so aware of overland flooding, which can occur when you get a torrential rain event. You don't have to be nowhere near a water body, and you can get this type of situation occurring. Okay, so another good way to get information is to use the hashtags. So if you I put in the hashtag flooding here in Twitter, and it's showing me all of the tweets that have this included in the tweet. And if you're not on Twitter, I highly advise you just go on it just so that you have access to these features. You don't have to do tweets. You don't have to follow people. You don't have to do posts. When there's something like this occurring, a flooding emergency, you can just go on and search for appropriate hashtags, which you'll figure out a lot of them are just intuitive, and you can get the latest information. So this is a river, for example, here that rose from 3.83 feet to 15.61 feet in the morning as of 10:15 a.m. So it rose 11.78 feet in 60 minutes, 12 feet in an hour almost. Okay, that's 2 feet in 5 minutes. Flood stage for this river is 11 feet. So it just rocketed past that. Just one particular example. Okay, another hashtag is Washington, D.C., for example. Okay, you can see the intensity of the storm on the radar. You can see the, 4 inches was falling here. and you can see the storm progressing, etc. Okay, another really good hashtag is weather, just hashtag weather. And then we have some local ones for weather stations. So Maryland weather, for example, and here's a close-up of the storm developing and transposing over Washington. Some roads, all kinds of flooding images and stuff because people are using that hashtag. This is another one, Virginia weather. You know, again, you can see all kinds of information. Okay, so now Earth Null School. If you just Google Earth Null, N-U-L-L School, then you get this website. And Washington, D.C., I go to Google Earth. I just want to get the latitude and longitude of it. So you can get that information here, the latitude and longitude of the city. And then you put that in. You click on the pointer here, and you click on the map here, and you can move it around until you get roughly the correct latitude. So we're sitting here over Washington. What we're looking at, this is how you get all the menus, by clicking on Earth. So I selected air at 250 millibar, winds to show the jet streams. And here's what we see. This is where the jet streams are going right now. And let's back up 1 hour, another hour, another hour, another hour. Okay, I'm just backing up in time. And what you can see here is you can see this loop here, this subtrough, if you like. Okay, so we can have a look and see what's happening here. Okay, so we're just, here's this subtrough right here. Okay, so if you're in the trough of a jet stream as opposed to the crest, you can get extreme weather. You can get lots of rainfall if this is persistent. So that's all it took for Washington to be, large parts of Washington to be flooded. We can look at total precipitable water. Okay, and you can see the amount of water vapor, kilograms per square meter. This is if you take a square meter of land, and you can change the units here to metric if you want, to some other units, just by clicking on it. Not in this case. But, yeah, so basically, if all the water, like there's just tremendous amounts of water vapor in the atmosphere. And let me go back to the jet streams here. Winds. Okay, and let's zoom out a little bit. So look at how distorted and broken up and wavy the jet stream is. So many places are getting inundated. They're getting really extreme weather events, but they're not noticed because there's low population densities. Then when these things happen in higher population densities, but not in power centers, people still ignore them, and now they happen in Washington, D.C., and will people still ignore them? You know, probably yes, but eventually not. Just a reminder, extreme weather statistics, there's this very key, you can go get, Google Images, I'm looking at this the statistics here, and I've blown this up here. Okay, so this is used to be the average temperature, this curve here. And because of the increase in the average temperature, our curve is shifted over here. So above a certain threshold, we have hot weather, extreme hot weather. So the heat waves are getting more intense. The cold waves and cold weather are getting less and less because the whole curve is shifting over. You can imagine this curve for water as well, right? If this is mean rainfall, and now this is what we have in the future climate in this particular region, we can get more and more extremes of temperature. Wet areas are getting wetter. Dry areas are getting drier. So just Google Images, wet areas, and you can see, the wet areas are getting wetter. Okay, so basically, the Arctic is warming like crazy. It's lowered the temperature difference to the equator. The jet streams are slowing and becoming much wavier and stuck, and we're getting extreme weather events like we're seeing in Washington, D.C. today. Thanks for listening.